PowerPoint presentation, so hopefully those of you who've just joined in, let me just remind you very briefly that there are these icons you can use as we're going along. Just below the word administrator, you can see in the far left hand side there's emotions that you can choose to use, and there are the tick box allows you to respond to a yes and a no to any questions. Okay, so let's just go to the first of the slides. Many of you, I think, will have either been involved with dissolving boundaries or know something about it. Just to set the scene, it ran for really 15 years. It involved 50,000 pupils in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland in special primary and secondary schools. I think one of the reasons that's important to say that is that there is quite a lot of experience around about how you can use ICT to link schools together. Dissolving Boundaries was based around matched teachers meeting together to learn how to use the VLE, which happens to be Moodle, and video conferencing, and they identified common areas of the curriculum to work on. So it's worth saying to you that we didn't give them a prescribed package of content. They had to decide for themselves which was going to be the most successful common area of the curriculum. And DB, thirdly, involved year-long contact online with a face-to-face and regular ongoing support from the program team. Quite a lot of evaluation done, and the research showed there was a real impact of that program on teachers' skills and pupils' attitudes. We sent you out a copy of that document called Emerging Lessons from Dissolving Boundaries, which I hope you've got a chance to look at. So that's the background. So Dissolving Boundaries finished last year, and that takes us nicely into something much more recent, which is the ePartners scheme. We're calling it a blended model of contact. This was an initiative set up by the University of Ulster. It ran with 26 primary schools in 13 cross-community pairs using Translate and Collaborate. And about 3/4 of the schools had a face-to-face meeting in a range of neutral locations. So when we use the word blended in this discussion, we're talking about a model of contact that's mainly online, but with some face-to-face work. Yeah, I think this would be not a big surprise to you. Just again to say that the teachers met together in January 2015 for some ICT training, and they drew up a work plan to cover a 10-week study. One of the most important things was that teachers organised their classes into matching groups to work together. So, for example, Teacher 1 would split up the classroom into 5 subgroups, A, B, C, D, and E, and each of those groups would work with the corresponding group in the other school. One interesting and unusual feature about that program was that about 65% of those schools had an Ulster University student to support them, and they were doing that as part of the Tutoring in Schools program. In terms of the actual focus of the curriculum, 12 of the schools chose Enterprise, and they had materials developed by my colleague Lindsay Hollywood and her students. So there was, if you like, clear knowledge put together by the students with the teachers. But other partnerships, a bit like in Dissolving Boundaries, simply made up their own work. And we had examples of teachers using Vikings, Fair Trade, the environment, and our city. So just a few points on ICT. I think this is something that we might want to talk about later. I was very lucky to have the support of Owen Coyle this year. He's a placement student, and basically has been there on hand to provide ongoing support, and it has felt to me as though that was particularly valued by teachers. Partly because before we started, about 60% of the teachers had never used Frontier. At the end of the working together on ePartners, you can see there that teachers felt that their skills in Frontier had improved, and quite a significant number felt they would be confident to help other teachers use Frontier. On the video conferencing front, again, 66.7% had not used video conferencing, but after it, 83.3% felt their skills with Collaborate had improved. So in other words, what's really happening here is that schools can see a real reason for wanting to use the technology, which of course you've all got. By the way, I should just say to you that, in case it wasn't obvious, that this conference that we're having right now is also using one of the tools in Collaborate. So, if you're thinking about how could I use this in shared education, it would be possible for you and your class linked to children in another school to use exactly what we're doing right now. Okay, I'm going to hand the baton over to Eamon McAteer now. He's going to talk to you about C2K's e-learning partnership. Over to you, Eamon.
Thanks, Roger. If I had realized you had as many academic publications behind you, I would have got some behind me to make me look more academic. But thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about what C2K are doing, and it's a kind of shadow of what you have done in the past with Dissolving Boundaries and with the e-learning, the e-partnerships that you're doing. C2K is e-learning partnerships. Kind of basically it's a generic topic of our school, and to see some of the teachers who have taken part in it here today, so you're very welcome. So it was kind of 6 weeks. Our school, our food, our sports, our role models, our jobs, and our holidays kind of were the topics, and they took a week at each of those, and the class was broken into 6 to represent each one of those categories. So for example, our school, the children research in our school would meet the children research in our school in the control school or maintain school, whatever it was, and they would talk to each other through Collaborate, but they would also have the online discussions through Frontier. So we have the synchronous and asynchronous working there, and that seemed to work well. The rationale for C2K doing this was to give teachers and schools a reason to get involved in working in collaboration with another school, and create as an obvious issue, and kind of this provided an answer for that. But there was much more to it. There was the development of ICT skills, and I know you're going to cover that, and teacher skills. And we had found that too, similar to yourself, that a lot of teachers hadn't used Frontier or Collaborate, or had been to Frontier training but had never really used the product because they didn't have a reason to. So in autumn we had 102 schools take part, and then a further 32 took part then in the spring section of that program. Basically, we brought teachers together, just like we did with your own teachers in the Ulster University program, and showed them Frontier and Collaborate. And a big part of that was the 2 teachers sitting down and planning what they wanted to cover. So if they didn't want to cover our role models and wanted to do our favourite novels or whatever, then that was fine. It was just a template for them to adjust and to make their own. And basically that was the C2K e-learning partnership. So back over to you, Roger.
Thanks very much, Eamon. Okay, folks, so there we are. Very short presentations deliberately because we wanted to hear from you. So the question we've got really, how important is ICT in shared education, and how can it be used to greatest effect? If you don't mind, I'm going to go straight to Emma Holmes, who took part in the ePartners program. And I thought you'd like to hear from one of the teachers that was involved, just what it felt like for her. Emma, over to you.
Hi there everyone, I hope you can hear me. My name's Emma Holmes, I teach at St Edith's Primary School in Belfast. Can you see me okay there?
Not yet, but we can hear you fine now.
Right, I'll just keep going. I was a part of the ePartners project this year alongside another primary school, Richmond Primary School. And it was a fantastic project for us because, first of all, for myself, really, going back actually to what Eamon said, it gave us a real reason to explore Frontier, and as a result, I think we really utilised it as an excellent tool across both schools. The first thing we did, we didn't actually choose a project in terms of a curricular area. We stuck very much, I suppose we were a bit nervous about starting, but we stuck very much to the theme again that Eamon had said about our school. And what we found from this is, because it was a sort of something that the children on both sides of the project were very proud of, it gave it a real motivation for the work that was completed, a real motivation for learning. The greatest, how can we use the greatest effect? Well, I think we planned ours quite loosely. I think one thing that I would do next time is maybe tie it in with one of the tasks that we're already doing. I suppose this time, as it was the first time, we did keep it nice and loose, and it was like an add-on, something. I hope you can see me now. Brilliant. We add, I suppose at some stages, I think the one thing that I said I would change is maybe tie it in with a task or something that we were doing and share those sorts of things to upload onto Frontier. The children now are really, really confident in using Frontier and actually wanted to push the boundaries so much so that I had to email Roger and Owen to ask them how to change the look of things, because the children were actually interested in creating things themselves. The other thing I would just change is maybe be a bit stricter myself and make sure it was exactly tied into what I was doing. As you all know, it's a busy time of year, and then as weeks go on, sometimes the project sort of, if we didn't touch it for a couple of weeks, we really felt behind, and because you're working with another school, you really didn't want to let them down. So I think I would be in closer contact with my partner and make sure that we had designated targets each week, but that's just a personal thing as well about time management, I suppose. But all in all, we really enjoyed the project. It ticked a lot of boxes for us in terms of ICT skills. It really raised the profile of, you know, the exchange element of ICT as well, and it's something that we're looking forward to using again in the future.
Thank you very much, Emma. Just perhaps for everybody's benefit, did you feel that you needed to be a bit of an ICT expert? I mean, there's a lot of people who joined in the discussion, and maybe not all of them think of themselves as being necessarily ICT experts. How big a challenge was the learning of Frontier and Collaborate for you?
Well, I suppose as ICT coordinator, I suppose I had maybe a few of those skills already. I don't think I had to be an expert because I was able to email Owen. I had that sort of support there. There were a few things at the beginning that I wanted to know, but they were sorted out very quickly in the initial session. And that initial session that we had together with the ICT support with Eamon and the partner school, that was invaluable because we had the basics set up. And I think having that support network in place if things didn't work was good. But I suppose with all of these things, it is a huge learning curve. I don't think you need to have excellent ICT skills, but you just have to be willing to have a go and try a few things. I mean, I found the change from Illuminate to Collaborate great, and actually the tool itself has been fantastic.
That's very good, Emma. I see that Gillian put her hand up. She's wanting to say something. Gillian, over to you.
Hello. I was just going to ask, obviously it's been a real asset in terms of developing ICT, but in terms of shared education, making links with other schools, and how the children can relate to each other and communicate and contact with each other and building up friendships. How has that worked?
Okay, thanks, Gillian. Emma, would you like to respond to that? And perhaps anybody else that's been involved in one of these programs might want to reply to Gillian's question. So, as I understood it, the question is, to what extent can real friendships develop as a result of these ICT links?
I'll just start off. The children, I mean, it surprised me. The children are in this technology age where they're very comfortable with Skyping and things like that. But when we were using Collaborate to contact the other school, the children were so motivated and excited. We broke them into groups, and they really, really felt a strong identity with their group, and we made very strong links. So I do think, in terms of building relationships, that it really had a positive impact in our class, and they really did build relationships with the other children. So much so that, just a small example is that one of the children in our class spotted something that was happening in our partner school and brought in the information from the paper. So, they felt that was our partner school, and they felt a quite strong alliance to that. So I do think there's other things that we could build it further. But in terms of our initial project, yes, relationships were definitely built.
Emma, just a quick question. Did you have a face-to-face? Or was it just all online?
Yeah, I mean, we had face-to-face contact regularly online, but we didn't have it in real life, so to speak. And that's something that it was one of those things that just didn't happen this time. But it is something that I would explore further, and I think it would be a benefit as well of maybe having the face-to-face maybe earlier on at the beginning to sustain that sort of relationship and build it further.
That's very interesting. Okay, folks, anybody else got a question or a comment? If you do, could you just click on the hand symbol so we can identify you? Just while, yeah, there's Gabriel, yeah. Over to you. Okay, I see a couple of very interesting comments there. One from Jala, great collaborative tools that allow kids to work together. OneNote, yeah, and Sway allows pupils to work in real time. And Alistair says, were your group discussions in small groups or as a whole class? Could we have, Emma, would you just reply to that specific point? Were your group discussions in small groups or as a whole class? Hello, Emma, can you hear me?
Sorry, can you hear me now? Sorry, I didn't click the button. Our group discussions were in small groups. First of all, we used the discussion tool in Fronter, and then we had face-to-face discussions. But the children did need a bit of training in this, it has to be said. It was a brand new concept for them, and also, very surprisingly, they were quite shy at the start. To get a really good conversation going, we had to practice and sort of model that between ourselves. But yes, it was a mixture of online and it's small groups, so that Group A from our partner school discussed things with Group A from my school.
Thanks, Emma. There's a question that maybe Eamon would like to reply to. It's just at the bottom of the screen there. Is Fronter able to do anything that Show Me can't, or are they generally the same thing? Eamon, can you pick that one up?
Yes, Roger. They're very. One's a virtual learning environment, and the other one I have limited kind of use of, but it's an app that kind of shows and captures kind of some examples of the work, so they can be used. There's not one or the other. Where Fronter will differ will be the collaboration in terms of discussions and exchange of views and uploading work and kind of peer evaluation and whatever. But it's a very good tool and can be is used by many schools as an app. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I see Jacinta's posted a comment in there. Jacinta, can you talk to us a little bit about, you say our children love Fronter, lots of apps can be embedded. Can you just elaborate on that a wee bit?
Hi, how are you everybody? Can you hear me okay, yeah?
We can, yeah, loud and clear.
Brilliant. Our children use Fronter every day. We use it to embed our coursework, and we also use it obviously for the e-learning partnerships that we're in. But I have to say I agree with the speakers earlier. Unless you collaborate as teachers first and actually have a use for e-learning, it could quickly become a wee bit of a quagmire as into what you're doing, and you can actually use the momentum. So it is very important to decide what you want to use the technology for, and really for it to enhance the learning. As I say, Fronter, we use it all course during the day, and we actually do our homework on it as well. As a virtual learning environment, it's not perfect, but it's as good as we've got, and it's free, so we love it here.
Yeah. Can I just follow up on that, because obviously both Eamon's project and ours most recently involved primary schools, where I think it's fair to say it was quite easy to enable the work to be easily embedded in the curriculum, and of course it tied in very well into the assessment of ICT. I've always thought it was more of a challenge in post-primary schools. So I wonder whether, Jacinta, you can get us started on the question about how you go about managing to use these tools in collaboration with another school.
Okay, well, initially we were actually in our second tranche of e-learning. Our first time that we used it, the school that we were working with weren't as engaged as we were, and our technology wasn't, our ability to use the technology wasn't of a similar standard, and we felt that we were constantly dragging the other school up with us. This time we're in collaboration with the school who are equally as enthused as we are and can see the potential for using Fronter. It really all boils down to using it to enhance the learning that the children are currently doing presently. It's not something that's an add-on. It's we use it now like we'd use a pencil or a calculator. You know, it's just something they bring to school with them.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jacinta. There's some interesting comments coming in on the notice board there. Alan Reevy, are you there? Do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of apps that you're talking about, Alan?
Hi, Roger. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, very well. Go ahead.
Sorry. Roger, we use several apps in school depending on teachers' preference, but they essentially do the same thing. In relation to the one that was mentioned there, we have Show Me, and that will be used quite a lot across the staff. We also have Explain Everything and Educreations, and essentially they can be used in a variety of ways. In some cases, staff will create presentations which are then uploaded onto the Show Me website and also available on Fronter for pupils to revisit in advance of a class, to flip the classroom, or on occasions.
Sorry to cut across here. And have you used those in collaboration with another school?
They absolutely could be, yes, Roger. Mainly it's being used in school, but there's no reason why they couldn't be used across schools. Now, the actual creation of the content would be more difficult because essentially the outcome is created using an iPad or another tablet in school, and then the links to those presentations that have been created are made available via Fronter. But it would be possible, for example, for one school to create a Show Me on something and to upload it to Fronter, and then schools that they're partnering with could do the same, and you'd have a central repository where those resources are available, where people and staff can go in as often as they want to and when they want to.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Folks, I'm conscious of we're almost at 4 o'clock. We've got half an hour to go. So before we move away from the ICT aspect of the discussion, has anybody got any questions or comments that they want to make specifically on the question was, how important is ICT in shared education? Yeah, Robin McIntosh saying, I'm hoping to use this to enhance cross-border ICT with the school we currently have a link with. What types of post-primary projects would be worthwhile keeping within the curriculum? Well, I'd say in answer to that, Robin, there's no shortcuts really. You've just got to sit down with your colleague and try and identify where there are overlaps. And what we did on the Dissolving Boundaries project was to bring people to a hotel just across the border and we essentially locked them into the hotel with a large amount of drink and told them they weren't going home until they'd reached an agreement. But in other words, there has to be some sort of relationship between the two teachers and a clear focus on how this is going to help you to deliver what is already on your curriculum, rather than it being an add-on. Okay, any other questions or comments before we move on? Eamon, have you got any final thoughts on this part of the discussion?
Just a couple of things to kind of pick up on. I think the key, Jacinta kind of alluded to it there, in terms of the partnerships that we saw most successfully kind of work was where the teachers agreed on, you know, kind of time frames and the workload and whatever. In Jacinta's first example, maybe the other school didn't have the same commitment, or other things happened during that year that took them away from doing it, and it left them with an imbalance. I'm seeing some questions here about training, Fronter training, and all the different apps, and we're very keen to use those apps, and we're not saying that Fronter is the answer to everything. It's a tool, and so is Collaborate, along with, you know, the Office 2013 kind of tools there, and we just want to show teachers what's available, and many teachers here have made excellent use of them. There will be training, you know, as part of there's no summer school this year, but my colleagues sitting across from me, Esther and Donna, are doing some training in Fronter at before the schools return, and we will be having sessions in the 5 centres, you know, to support that too. So there'll be lots and lots of training coming, and we're really encouraging you to get involved. And, you know, I've left my email address up. People can email me, and I'll put them in touch with Esther or Donna, and we will follow up on any training requests that we get. So happy to support all the teachers that are wanting to get involved.
That's great. Thanks. Lindsay Hollywood. I wonder whether, Lindsay, as somebody involved in ePartners, have you got any observations to make on how important is it, do you think, to have university students in schools to provide an extra pair of hands to help the teachers? Hi, Lindsay, are you with us? Maybe she's gone. Okay. All right, folks. Okay. Am I live here? Yeah. Okay. Right, folks, I think we will, Emma's got a question in there saying, will ePartners continue next year? That's quite a difficult question, and personally speaking, I'd love it if that could happen. The university, as you probably heard, is facing some quite serious financial cutbacks. So I think the answer at this stage is we're not sure. But if you get in touch with me or with Shane Crothers in the university in September, I think we'll probably have a better picture then. Okay, but perhaps just before we leave this, folks, would you like to use the icons? If I said to you, I think that shared education cannot really be done in a sustainable way without ICT, do you agree or disagree with that? So the question is, do you think ICT is an essential element in sustainable work for shared education? So if you think the answer is yes, just click on the yes icon, or if you think the answer is no, can you just click on no? All right, folks. Alan's, we've got a few ticks coming in there. That's interesting. So, is ICT an essential? Okay. So far, it's reading 19 yeses and 2 nos. You keep them coming in, folks. That's really interesting. The vast majority, I think, of you, perhaps, you're not a representative cross-section of teachers. We're now up to 30 people saying it's an essential element, and just 2 disagreeing with that. Okay, well, I think that is something for us to reflect on as we develop further plans for working together. I'm going to move on to the next slide, if I may, folks. This is looking a little bit at what I suppose we're all much more familiar with, which is face-to-face contact. Just a couple of slides really about this. You probably heard Emma saying that if she was going to do this again, she'd probably have her face-to-face early on. And the evidence that we have is that when schools have an early face-to-face, it really enriches and stimulates the online interaction. And there was a lot of build-up before the face-to-face, and then significant amounts of traffic afterwards. So you can see the comment there. 46% would have changed the timing of their face-to-face. That was essentially because most of the teachers actually had their face-to-face at the end. Right, so we're on to the next question for you folks to think about, and it is simply this: how important is face-to-face in shared education, especially as a component of a link which uses ICT on a regular basis? Now, I mean, that question's in there partly because Eamon's project was entirely based on online interaction. And I don't know whether Eamon wishes that there had been a face-to-face element or not, but this is what we'd like you just to focus your thoughts on for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Can I ask folks who have views on this to just click on the hand sign so that we know that you want us to talk? Yeah, there's Kira. Kira, can we encourage you to say something to us? Why do you think face-to-face is essential? And Claudia, yeah. Would one of you like to just... Oh, Kira hasn't got a microphone. What about Claudia? Or let me put it another way. Eamon, you didn't have face-to-face in your project. Was that a worry for you, or did you just accept it as being part of the nature of things?
No, we couldn't determine to schools what they wanted to do. Some of the schools did have a face-to-face, but it wasn't part of our program because we didn't have the funding available. You know, we continuing professional development has changed a great deal in the last number of years. So this was a development to add value to the training that people had received and to give them a reason to use it, and CRED and development of new ICT skills were the key to that. Schools who did the face-to-face, it did add value, and that's what I'm hearing, but it wasn't part of our program because it's outside of our remit, if that makes sense.
Alistair Hamill's got something to say. Alistair, over to you. What have you got to say about the question of face-to-face in shared education? Alistair, can you just click on your microphone to be able to talk? Okay. Maybe a technical problem there. Where's the microphone? Okay, it's you see underneath the image of me there's a button that says talk. Can you click on that one?
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
There we are.
Good man.
Yeah, I'm here primarily to learn today. We've been involved in a collaboration with the local school teaching an A-level in critical thinking for about the last 5 or 6 years now, and it's all been face-to-face. We haven't really used ICT extensively. So my experience is very much orientated towards face-to-face, and I see very much the benefits of that with the students having that social interaction before they would come into class, those 5 minutes just having a chance to spend some time together, and that really fosters the relationships. So I'm very interested to see how, in our context where we do have significant face-to-face, how the virtual world can help and support that, how we can expand that. It had absolutely been my experience that face-to-face is absolutely central, but I'm interested to see some comments come through here from folks, obviously, who've done this all online and done this all virtually and still feel it's working very well. So I'm just very interested to hear and pick up some experiences from you folks that have had that experience.
Thanks, Alistair. It's really very helpful. I guess a lot of people are in exactly your position, namely, that we've done face-to-face stuff, and I think unless you've been shown compelling examples of ICT, it might not necessarily be the first thing that you think of using. Okay. Anybody else got any comments they want to make about the face-to-face? Yes, Gillian. Over to you.
How kind of available the Blackboard Collaborate is? Is that part of the CGK system or something?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sorry.
Hard to hear you.
How readily available is the Blackboard Collaborate for students or for pupils?
Well, every school has got Fronter and Collaborate. It's, as I understand it, it's Eamon will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a core feature that every school has got.
Yep.
No additional cost.
Just to clarify that. Just to clarify, no pupil has Collaborate. It's only teachers. Every teacher, every adult in the Northern Ireland educational network has Collaborate, and there's a widget that you can add to your MySchool. But every single teacher has their own unique URL for that. And just a quick kind of thing, not an advert or promotion, but the newer version of Collaborate will come next academic year, which will give you HD quality video and better experience even than this. And this is a very well run VC. Well done, Roger. But we're trying to improve it every time, and we work with groups like Dissolving Boundaries and other and the e-learning partnerships to feedback what is right, what needs to be fixed, and you will see a significant improvement in the quality of the camera and sound. So I'm looking forward to that.
Hi.
So everybody has it, and more than welcome to use it. In September we'll be running each Monday a drop-in session that you can come in and watch how to use it. So more than welcome for that.
Thanks very much,
I have stated that put X for it, whether it's vital or not. I mean, I think obviously shared education can occur without ICT, but I do think that the use of this kind of tool is very valuable.
But I'm conscious, folks, that one or two people are having to leave us, and I wanted just to say to all of you that there is an online discussion sort of running away in the background, and I'm just going to bring this up so you're aware of this. In other words, if you felt interested or stimulated by what you've heard in this afternoon's discussion, it's just to say to you that this is open all the time and give you an opportunity to just think a little bit further about what we've been talking about. You'll see that there's two questions at the moment. The first one is just really, what's the place of ICT in shared education? And the second one, I think, is the one that we're about to move on to, which is to ask the question about how important is it in shared education that your partnership should be with a local school rather than one that's a bit further away. So I hope you'll take the opportunity to join in that discussion. Can you get rid of that? And I'm just going to go on to the next slide, which is just talking about some of, you might say, well, how do we know that any of this actually works, or what effect does this have? So we've got a lot of evidence from teachers and student teachers about the benefits of this, and this is the ePartners program: improved ICT skills, better cross-community understanding. And Eamon, do you want to say just a couple of words about the findings from your work?
Yeah, I think that, as you can see there, that everyone wanted to be involved again. Many felt that the extensive opportunities that inter-school online partnership give enhanced learning outcomes. One of the things I was interested in was that the key reasons for using this and getting involved in our e-learning project was UICT development, 87.5%, but many schools enjoyed the cred element of it without it being one of their key elements. It was just something that they did and thought that was very refreshing, you know, that it wasn't the be all and end all. It was a kind of a more of a sub benefit as opposed to the main benefit. So to me, UICT being the main reason for them to get involved, and then the benefit of having cred there as well, improved literacy and teamwork and all those other things were also beneficial.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eamon. Okay, let's just press on. So this is just a slide about what the teachers got out of the ePartners program, improved ICT skills, better understanding of community relations. 80% of the students thought that the teacher relied a bit on their skills at the beginning of the project, but far fewer by the end. 90% of the students believed that the teacher could continue project work on their own. I'm sure they could. Yeah. So, open discussion. What might have been done to improve the experience of either of these programs? Could the approaches taken fit as well in post-primary schools as primary? And there's that question again. How important is it that links are made with your nearest schools? So, folks, can we have your thoughts on this one? Anybody got a comment that they'd like to contribute at this stage, particularly perhaps on the last of those questions? If you have, just click the hand icon so we can pass the mic over to you. Okay, well, you've all gone very quiet all of a sudden. There we are, Gabriel. Yeah, over to you. Hi, Gabriel. Just click on the talk button just below the video image. Can you hear us okay? Okay, bit of a technical problem there. Anybody else want to jump in? How important is it that links are made with your nearest school? That's Dawn. Yeah, over to you, Dawn. Where are you from?
Hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm from Bangor Central.
Good.
Hi. I took part in the e-learning partnership with Eamon with the C2K, and we did the obviously e-learning partnership with Our Lady of Lourdes in Antrim Road, and it was brilliant. But I recently took part in a leadership training program along with schools in Bangor, so I was meeting up with lots of teachers and coordinators in Bangor, and it was fabulous being a link at local schools and getting to know people, almost networking. So it's the same way with the kids. If the kids were able to network, so to say, with the schools nearby to them, be able to get to know the people who lived in their neighbourhood and see that they're just like them as well. They have the same common interests and same kind of understanding of things. It'd be great. I think the kids would be even further engaged if they knew the school was just around the corner from them. I think it might even, the children that aren't so keen, that aren't so interested, might even get them on board a bit more as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dawn. Alistair Hamill, you wanted to say something. Just click on the talk icon.
Yeah, I would probably echo some of what Dawn was saying there about the connections that links with the local school allow the students to make outside of the school setting. Again, as I mentioned, our context is we've been doing this for a number of years, but without much use of ICT, but with our local school. And what we have tried to do is build a whole bunch of contacts with various organisations in the local community, so that the relationships that are being forged in schools are being picked up and carried on by some of the local community organisations as well, so that the students get to meet each other outside of it. So what we're trying to do is build this rich network of relationships that exist between the schools but beyond into the community. But I think obviously you can have collaboration with schools far away, and obviously the ICT really helps with that. But sometimes our nearest neighbour are the most important schools that we need to be collaborating with.
Yeah, I think there may be sometimes a little bit of tension around working with local schools, because we came across examples where schools were effectively competing for pupils, and that added a little bit of tension to their working partnership. and there is some research that suggests that distance lessens anxiety, and that might be one of the reasons why it's a feature of, I think, the scene here, that lots of schools in Northern Ireland have got wonderful links with schools in far away in other countries, in the rest of Ireland, but at least up to now there have been I think not so many instances of schools collaborating very, very locally. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Is the difficulty about linking with your local school that there are times when they're almost too close to you? What do you think about that? Eamon's got a comment, yeah.
Roger, just a quick comment. We would have schools that would maybe have their local partners, say in P5, and then we'd go to, if it's a rural school, we'd go for an urban school from a controlled or maintained background to give a different dimension, and then maybe in P7 we go for an international. So they build it up in stages and work very differently at different year groups. So I think there's some find close is better, others find that there's a mixture. So it's very interesting to hear the different comments from the teachers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That it's not necessarily one or the other, but it could be, if you like, could be both, a continuum. A widening focus for interaction. Okay, anybody else got anything that they'd like to add? I'm just looking at these comments here. Robin McIntosh saying, has anyone done a link with France and Germany? The answer to that is that was certainly done in the European Studies project, which ran from about 1986 until about 3 or 4 years ago. I was involved in that at the beginning. So yeah, that's definitely been tried out and worked very well. And Dawn thinks that Australia uses Frontier as well. Good. Okay, folks. Anybody want to address the rest of the conference with in relation to any of those questions that we've got here? What could we be doing to improve the experience of this blended contact, this mix of face-to-face and ICT? I'm going to just try something out here. How many of you think that teacher training is the single most important element? I'm going to just invite you to click on the yes or no. So the question I'm throwing at you is, would you say that professional development in the use of these ICT tools and thinking how you mix them in with face-to-face, would you say that professional teacher development is that the single most important thing if you were to map out priorities for the next 2 or 3 years? So can you click on yes or no to that one? Is teacher professional development the most important priority for the next two years or so? Okay, we've got, what have we got so far? We've got some ticks and we've got some crosses. 13 yeses and 2 no's so far, 4 no's, okay? Keep them coming in, folks, if you would. And there's somebody saying it needs to be developed after initial training, okay? Any more ticks or crosses, anybody, to that question about the importance of professional development in these tools? Okay, 15, we've got 19 replies so far, that's great. Thank you very much, all of you, for that. A few of you sitting on the fence, why not? Okay, folks, but I think we're probably not too far from wrapping things up for this afternoon. I'd just like to give you all an opportunity of letting us know how you feel about this experience of taking part in this event today. So here's the first question. Is this the first time that you've taken part in a webinar? Okay, So I'm going to clear the last one. So the question is this the first time that you've taken part in a webinar? And we've got 7, roughly equal numbers so far. Actually, that's very interesting. Quite a few of you have already tried this before. That's very good. Suggests that this might be a great tool to use in the future. Okay. Eamon, did you have something that you wanted to add here?
No, no, Roger, that was from a previous one. I didn't take my hand down, it's still up. So, no, that's, thanks.
Okay. Just looking down to see, everybody had a chance to comment on that one. Can I ask those of you who don't think that professional development is the most important thing, could you let us know what you think, if you were trying to offer advice to the Department of Education about their priorities for the next 2 to 3 years, if it's not professional development, what are the most important things? Could somebody stick up a hand and let us know? You've all gone quiet. Robin saying pupils. Robin, can you tell us a bit more about what you mean by that? Hi, Robin. Just click on the talk option. You say you're too shy. Okay. Anybody else want to say something about this? What are the priorities in terms of plans for shared education? What do you think are the most important things? If it's not professional development, what is it? Lots of comments coming in on screen, but shyness seems to have captured some of you. Keep those comments coming in, that's very good. Eamon, just while people are thinking about that, oh, there's Maeve. It begins with skills and needs to be embedded so that teachers can understand how it genuinely helps with teaching and learning in the classroom. That's nice. Maeve, do you want to add anything to that? A quick comment to everybody. Maeve works at the Nurse Centre in Belfast.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, Maeve.
Hi. Sorry, my camera is not working today, unfortunately. But it's just to say, I think kind of we've seen schools kind of in our experience coming on quite a journey kind of with ourselves, and it does start off with teachers being very fearful about kind of skills that they kind of require to be able to use kind of ICT kind of across the curriculum in the classroom. But increasingly, I think a lot of our schools kind of, because they have come a little bit along that journey and they have a little bit more confidence with ICT now, they genuinely do want to understand how those skills then can be embedded, and also that they understand kind of where progression is kind of with our pupils in the classroom and what they need to be doing across different key stages, and the process of being able to map that across either primary school or into post-primary or even those transition years is something which is becoming more important kind of as we kind of talk to schools and talk to principals kind of more around the country. So maybe taking it a little stage further again, but it's very worrying kind of at a time when there seems to be kind of when all opportunities for teacher professional development around ICT and in other areas too seem to be taken away from schools and teachers. So I'm not quite sure kind of what we do with all of this, but I think in terms of being able to share and having kind of even kind of at the minute in the Creative Learning Centre, kind of we have a number of schools kind of downstairs in another room. I've just come and joined this from them, and we'll go back there again. But they're talking about how they even between themselves can disseminate good practice, how they can share not just kind of with the school down the street, but also kind of share kind of with schools that they know are at the same level as them with their use of ICT, and that's very important too.
Yeah, that's a very good point, mate. Same level. I just think we're almost at the end of it. So there's a line here, value for money, and it seems to me that that might be part of what we have to think about in the future. In other words, what's the cost of this going to be? So we have a figure there for e-partners. And just finally, as we get to the very end of this, Maeve touched on this, which is, how important is it for third parties like ourselves, C2K, or the Nerve Centre, the Education Authority, to facilitate schools in shared education. Certainly, one of the things that took up quite a bit of our time was trying to ensure that we had schools that were well matched in terms of the age and ability of their pupils. That was a really important thing for us. Just as we're closing, folks, any thoughts or comments? I think, Alan, you had your hand up a second ago. Do you want to say anything about this, or were you wanting to raise a different point?
Roger, it was just really the point that I've posted up there in the chat area on screen, and it's the fact that thankfully there is an ongoing willingness from the perspective of schools and of individual members of staff to engage in collaborative projects that are to the benefit of pupils. And while we welcome the likes of Teach Meets and NI Camp, and they are absolutely vital and provide a great role, it is disappointing that a lot of funding has been lost centrally for the financing of continuing professional development in ICT. And if we are to try and give staff in schools a baseline from which they can launch these projects, if they're going to be using virtual collaborations, then it's really important that that funding is restored. So thankfully we've got C2K ongoing. The Education Authority funding for training doesn't seem to be in a great situation, and as you've mentioned too today, funding for universities is also being cut, and that's impacting on frontline services almost immediately.
That's right, Alan. Thanks anyway for those comments. Lindsay Hollywood's got a hand up. Lindsay, do you want to say something to us? Or?
Yes, can you hear me there, Roger?
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Just from a university perspective, I just wanted to say that we ran a really successful e-partners programme, and just in terms of facilitating that shared education, I thought it was vital for my students, but also for the teachers as well, in that the students learned teaching skills, and a lot of my students would go on to do a PGCE. But as well as that, they were supporting the learning and with the students and with the teachers as well in the classroom, helping to build their skills. And I just wanted to put it out there that I thought it was a really valuable project to be involved in.
Okay, thanks very much, Lindsay. Well, certainly it was great to have your students on board. They were real enthusiasts, and I think the teachers very much appreciated having an extra pair of hands. Folks, it's 4:30 and the sun's shining here in Coleraine. No doubt it is where you are. So just to wrap up, can I first of all say a huge thank you to all of you for taking part in this. If you feel moved to do this, you can express your feelings about your involvement in the last hour by clicking on one of the emoticons. We've got smiley faces, and we've got applause and approval, etc., etc. So feel free to make use of any of those icons if you'd like to. Eamon, would you like to just say a few words by way of wrapping things up from your side?
Just want to thank everyone for taking part today. Really interesting webinar, excellent points. Kind of made a few notes myself here in terms of follow-up, and delighted to be working with you in the past, and kind of hopefully work with you next year. It's been a good year in terms of collaboration for schools in Northern Ireland, and maybe building that next year. And thanks for setting us up, Roger and Owen.
Well, it's been a pleasure for us, and I think with that we're going to say that it's probably time to shut the show down, and once again to say to you that we really appreciate you giving up some of your own time to share these thoughts. We have recorded this, and we'll make that recording available to all of you. And if I could just encourage you finally to, if you've got any further thoughts that you want to express on this, that online forum is going to be live for at least for another 24, 48 hours. And you know, it's a great place to put in thoughtful, measured comments, and you'll see that there's already some very good stuff up there. Okay, I think it's time for final goodbyes. So from us, Owen and myself here in Coleraine, many thanks, and we look forward to working with you again before too long. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.